Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we have some breaking news out of Minneapolis as a federal agent has shot a protester dead. Now, of course, we're seeing the manufactured chaos being created before us in order to bring in emergency orders, the manufacturing of a civil war. This is a very serious issue that we need to go into, as we do have videos from multiple different angles of how this happened there in Minneapolis, which we're going to go into later on in the video. Here's just one example showing what happened immediately leading up to this event. Pepper sprayed. Brought to the ground. Gun disarmed from him. Was in his pocket. And shot 11 times. Absolutely crazy. And, you know, I'm going to get in some trouble for this one, but it's only because I am going to be consistent in my effort to both speak out against insane leftist policies, but also speak out against police state activities, which we're also seeing, because the guy was disarmed. And this is actually, there's no doubt about this at all. He was disarmed. We're going to go into more video footage from another angle and a bunch of examples and what the government is saying, what people like Tim Walz is saying, what protesters at the event are saying, and how this is being manufactured to bring us to point B, from point A to point B. After the Renee Good shooting, we had to anticipate, after especially the World Economic Forum as well, that there is something in the playbook here that we need to understand. So we're going to go into that and more today, my friends. Before we do, I urge people to check those links below. If they're manufacturing emergency orders, which, again, order out of chaos, I urge people once again to get prepared today and not wait until it's too late. firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link, not a shortened version. It's in the description of the video. Banks are going bankrupt. They have less than 1% cash deposit ratio. They have derivative exposures through the roof. They have inflation on top of the fact that they are pushing us into a digital system with food rations, CBDCs, digital IDs, all this stuff, social credit. It's so incredibly imperative that people prepare for what comes next. You could buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium at this site, hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, or put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system, and you could schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzalez, who we do many videos of here at WHAM. He's awake, aware, and knows what he's doing. He'll also get a complimentary investors package, and just let him know in the comments of the forum when you sign up that you found him at World Alternative Media or WHAM, W-A-M. So again, that's firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. Also, check out our link for WaveWatch 2.2 pre-order today, 1,250 frequencies. There's no Wi-Fi required, no Bluetooth, no EMFs. You don't need to use an app. If you use code WHAM, W-A-M, you'll get over $100 off on this. It helps you soothe your nerves, boost energy, enhance cellular function, and improve sleep. Go and check this out. It's endorsed by people like Dr. Brian Artis and Dr. Motley. Again, that is over at our link for WaveWatch, which is in the description of the video. All right, my friends, let's get into this. So this shooting in Minneapolis, it could be one of those Franz Ferdinand situations, Archduke, who got shot, which helped lead into World War I alongside the false flag of the sinking of the Lusitania. But I believe that this has a heavy toll going forward because there's already military police in the street. The National Guard has been deployed. Trump is blasting Minnesota polls for inciting insurrection in wake of shooting. Where are the local police, he says? Well, again, where are the local police? Who put the federal police in the streets in the first place? I mean, my goodness, we are witnessing the push for a police state here, and they utilize issues that, of course, I get it. The hardcore leftists that have regularly burned down buildings in places like Minneapolis back in 2020 and push ridiculous, insane policies. I get it. We don't like them. No one likes them. But people have a right to protest. People have a right to bear arms. No one was waving the gun around, and to shoot someone dead in the street with a bunch of thugs in the street. And I'm saying thugs because at this point, we're at the point of federal police. What happened to not being in favor of a police state? Oh, well, what about the mass migration? Yeah, import a bunch of people from other countries after the CIA helps arm and fund groups like cartels in Latin America or Al-Qaeda, Mujahideen, Taliban, ISIS, Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas in the Middle East. They create the problem so they can be so-called justified in creating the solution. So this is a problem, reaction, solution, repeat kind of scenario, Hegelian dialectic, to get a security apparatus in the streets, a police state, just like they're putting up cameras on all the interstate systems and throughout cities, with facial recognition and license plate readers to determine if people are suspicious for driving from point A to point B. You know what? I'm going to take the nice road home today, the scenic route. Oh, well, what could you possibly be up to? None of your damn business. What happened to the basis of libertarianism that a lot of people had? Now they're cheering on war, and they're cheering on these the police doing these things, and police in the streets and tanks in the streets. Really crazy. I'm going to break that down further for those that might be on the edge over this or like in the middle. I want to break it down further. But again, we have this video. We first see the protester get pepper sprayed here. That's the guy who dies. Guy in the brownish jacket. Thrown to the ground. Okay, you could say, oh, well, he's resisting a little bit. Well, he's got a bunch of guys pulling him down. And he did not pull a gun on them. He did not pull a gun on them, I repeat. He was armed. There, you could see they threw the bullets away. And boom, boom, boom. 11 times he was shot. Now, here's another angle, my friends. And this is interesting. Very, very interesting. It's 1 minute and 27 seconds. Check this out on screen. That's where he's thrown to the ground.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Honestly.
I mean, what was that?
What the fuck did you just do?
I mean, the guy was already on the ground. He was already taken. He was already taken. The bullets were already taken off of him. The gun was already taken off him. I'll show you evidence of that in a moment. So why shoot the guy that many times? Why? Like, what is going on with the training? Or is this all by design? I believe both. Who's training? This guy apparently is 20 years in the border as a border patrol officer. How do you be trained so badly? And by the way, with all the other cops around, he could have easily hit the other police too. He's like in the middle of a scrum shooting. What the hell is that?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
I should have warned people of the graphic content, but it's kind of hard to see anyway because it's pixelated. And let's get real, we're all very normalized to this kind of stuff these days.
What the fuck did you just do? What the fuck did you just do? Yes! Will somebody call the ambulance?
Someone call the ambulance. Hate to say it, lady. Getting shot that many times, I don't think an ambulance is going to be of much help. They're going to try and do CPR on him, and it's a lost cause.
The ambulance! Somebody needs to call the ambulance! Somebody call 911!
Someone call 911.
I can't believe they just did that! Holy shit! Holy shit! Just... come on! Come on!
Yeah. CPR here. It's a panic situation, so I get it. Call 911, but that's kind of silly. It's pretty silly. But, okay, so we have another angle there. And here we have the man who was shot. He was an ICU nurse named Alex Jeffrey Pretti. He was 37 years old from South Minneapolis. As Mario Nawfal says, from what's out there so far, he was a U.S. citizen, legally owned a gun, and crossed paths with ICE during an operation. Agents say he approached then armed and wouldn't comply. Well, we saw the video. He was pepper sprayed before, brought to the ground, gun taken off of him, bullets taken off of him, and then shot. What is that? I'm sorry, but if we're going to be consistent in our support of freedom and individualism here, we cannot just... I don't care what the guy's views were. It doesn't matter. I mean, a person has a right to bear arms. He wasn't using it threateningly. He was already on the ground, tackled by like 7 police officers. And this guy, okay, I'm guessing later on we're going to find out, oh, he has some kind of criminal record or something. They're going to say something and, oh, people will justify that. It really does not matter. He legally owned a gun. That's guaranteed. It's already been confirmed. And he was killed with 11 shots by these police. Again, I think they're manufacturing chaos here. Man waving gun at feds attempting to arrest illegal criminal migrant in Minneapolis, fatally shot by agent. Was he waving a gun? Because I saw no video of him waving the gun. Now, I want to invoke one thing here. So, it wasn't that far off from where this happened, of course, in Kenosha, where we saw what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. And I totally support Kyle Rittenhouse's right to defend himself in that situation and carry a gun on the outside of him, openly. It's a little weird to carry a pistol openly, but I don't see any video of that happening. If that is the case, I apologize for getting that wrong, but I think the overall agenda is the same. The message is the same. If Kyle Rittenhouse is rightly able to defend himself and use a gun on the people who attacked him and have the gun there in the first place, this guy is allowed to have the gun there in the first place. He didn't shoot anyone. He was disarmed before he was shot. That is absolutely awful protocol. Well, it goes against all protocol, I should say. And this is going to be a fuse lit here. It's going to lead to so much after the Renee Good thing, which is more questionable with the video. I mean, the guy had internal bleeding after, but the whole thing seems strange. The guy did seem far enough away from the vehicle before he shot her in the head. So there's a lot of questions about that. The woman seemed like a really stupid person who did really stupid things. Her wife seemed pretty dumb as well, and telling her to drive. Yes, all that is true. Blocking the roads, it's annoying. It's stupid. But the idea that, shooting her in the head from the side, which every video I see, he had about, 2 feet or so of space between him and the vehicle on the side, not in front initially. He was just in front right before this happened. There's a lot of questions about that. The point is, this is just justification to the state for more jackboots on the street, for more militarized police on the street. Again, what happened in alternative media to calling out militarized police. So, both could be true. The person killed could be an idiot. The police also shouldn't be militarized in the streets of the cities. That's a sign of a falling empire, my friends, and also a sign of a manufactured crisis to come. I want to quickly mention that before I go into more evidence of the gun being taken off of him, the disarming and all that kind of stuff, and what the moron in chief in Minneapolis, Tim Walz, is saying, I want to point out, it was only September of 2024 where we saw the United Nations Pact for the Future signed. The United Nations Pact for the Future allowed, under emergency orders, for them to shut down your bank account if you say negative things about the state, for them to arrest you, for them to shut down your bank account if you say negative things about politicians even that are in charge, for them to force you into food rations with social credit scores on digital IDs. Now, we have to fast forward to recently how they've brought in the 5-year social media history mandate to enter the United States under the Trump administration, which is literally social credit, 10 years of email as well, photo metadata, iris scans, and biometrics, and all this kind of stuff. That is insane. That is technocracy. But the overall agenda was always to create a problem, get a reaction, then you can mandate the emergency response, the emergency orders. If you've watched my show for a long time, you know I've been talking about this for a long time. So this is the overall overarching agenda that they're bringing in right now, which I want to be incredibly clear about. And now the chances, all these things always happen right after the World Economic Forum at Davos. Why is that? Why is that? we're seeing manufactured crises happen in Minneapolis as we see a massive winter storm, which is really strange, hitting, the half of the United States. And meanwhile, and all these emergency orders and panic buying and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, attempts to go after Iran, people who are usually libertarian supporting regime change now, as Israel and the United States boasts about arming some of the people on the street, having Mossad in the protests and manipulating the protests. Then there's Greenland, then there's Venezuela, then the calls for strikes on Mexico and Colombia and Cuba. I mean, all this stuff is happening as the economy sinks, as jobs are collapsing. Look at the labor force participation rate. As we see the push for people in the housing issue to, well, you will own nothing and you'll be happy, renters forever. And as we see people rush to silver and gold. I mean, there's something very strange going on. I think it's, again, all part of the same puzzle. Oh, people are getting sick and new pushes for pandemic treaties and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is an important thing to acknowledge here. I want to continue here with more of this evidence because this is going to snowball, in my opinion. Brandon Straka on X says, new slowed footage raises questions about the sequence of events before federal agents shot Minneapolis. Man, okay, so this is a different angle here. Let's look. Empty hand on that officer. Still empty hand on that officer. Obviously, he's not holding the gun if he's pulling the gun from his pants. They're punching him in the head. Look how many cops. Cop has gun in hand. That is the gun they took off of him. He's already disarmed. He's already disarmed. This is going to be cut and dry in court, my friends. He's already disarmed. Regardless of how you feel about this protester, you have a guy getting shot 11 times by guys while he's disarmed. He was not waving the gun around. It's clear they took it from his pants, as far as I'm seeing. And they shot him 11 times in the streets. This is what causes riots. This is what causes chaos. And the state loves chaos because they can come in with so-called order. Emergency orders, my friends. And the digital ID technocracy that I've been talking about. His hands were empty. Federal agents say immediate threat. Video frames raise hard questions. Gun agents said justified the shooting in Minneapolis. Looks like it was already taken off of him before the shots were fired. So the gun agents said was justified in the shooting of Minneapolis. Looks like it was already taken off him before the shots were fired. Clear frames show an agent pulling what appears to be his SIG P320 out of the scuffle and moving away with it. Then the shooting happens. If that's accurate, he was effectively unarmed at the moment he was killed by Border Patrol and ICE agents. Voila, my friends. As Bonchi wrote on X, we are allowed to have loaded magazines in America. Whether the shooting was justified or not, simply being in possession of a gun with ammo is not proof of intentions to massacre anyone. Sorry, I'm not giving up that premise to the federal government. Because right now, he's mentioning Disclosed.tv showed this from Border Control Chief Greg Bovino. He says, and I quote, the suspect also had 2 loaded magazines and no accessible ID. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. Just because you have a gun on you, it means you want to massacre law enforcement? What are you talking about? I mean, if that is the case and they find some really weird manifesto like we saw with Tyler Robinson, if we find some crazy fake-looking manifesto, some people might fall for that. But you don't have any evidence of that. You're just randomly making things up. You can't possibly know this yet. And no accessible ID. They could have only figured that out after they took the gun from him, as the video shows. I mean, my friends, as the video shows, they took the gun off of him. They could not have known he had unaccessible ID. And even if he did, that's a small slap on the hand. If you're carrying a gun, then you eventually show them the ID, and then, all good. as far as that goes. Not that I'm in favor of even that, but the point is, they couldn't have known that. We have militarized police on the street. We have now tanks in response to this. Now they're deploying the National Guard in Minneapolis again. And they're putting actual, not just MRAPs, but tanks in the freaking streets. Do people understand the slippery slope here? More than a slippery slope at this point. We're going down an icy toboggan hill at this point, an icy toboggan slide. We're zooming through this. It's not just a slippery slope. We have basically what they call justification for militarism, and then the military police shoots a guy dead in the street after disarming him. And therefore, now they bring in more security. Now, they might say later there's more to this. It could happen. Maybe he had another gun on him. The point is, he was clearly apprehended. I mean, look at all those cops holding him down. This is very, very sketchy. This doesn't mean I somehow support leftist policies. It does not mean that at all. I just don't like a police state, which is big government, my friends, which is actually a leftist idea. Look at Romania with Ceausescu. Look at Soviet Russia. This is what a protester said in response to all this after it happened. A protester was on camera saying this.
I got off of work this morning and immediately saw that they had seven guys. I had a guy on the ground and just shot him in cold blood. It was an execution.
Oh shit! What the fuck? They killed him? Did they fucking kill that guy?
And so I came out here to use my First Amendment right to protest that. I can't believe what's happening in our city. Everything was so peaceful and beautiful and loving here until these cowards came in with masks and guns and started inflicting tyranny on our neighbors. They're killing us. They're killing us.
Yeah, and that's not an exaggeration. It's now 2 people that have been killed by the federal government here.
We are a block away from where they executed somebody. We are watching them protect murderers over and over again. It won't stand. What's happening here, if you show the people, this is not rioting. This is not agitation. This is the First Amendment. This is the freedom of assembly. This is what they are not protecting. What they are not protecting is the people. What they are not protecting is the Constitution. What they are not protecting is the people. They're protecting the fucking fascist overlords of this bullshit fucking country. We won't stand for it. America could be great if these fucking cowards got the fuck out of here. Jesus fuck.
Apologize for the language, my friend. So this was a protester, and that was from Status Coup on statuscoup.com. So again, I want to point out something here. It doesn't matter if you agree with the protesters or what they're protesting or not. I mean, something the media is going to always show you, because they're based in fear-mongering and pushing for civil war and civil unrest, is you're not going to see the mostly, and I this is going to sound like CNN here, mostly peaceful protesters, but it's true. Most of them aren't rioting. We have the opportunists that get involved in rioting. We have the provocateurs that police put out there, and then we have just idiots that get involved in rioting. Of course, that's a thing that has been happening in Minneapolis, and we've seen that. But again, that's what they will show. They're not going to show the majority of people not doing that. And again, you don't have to agree with their position. I'm not a fan of mass migration at all. I think it's a horrible thing, and I think it's by design, and it's about causing cultural shock and cultural decline. I think it's about normalizing us to this kind of stuff too. It's how you destroy an empire from the inside out. And I believe this came again from them arming and funding these groups over in other countries, causing chaos, bombing these countries, and then saying, hey, come over here, we'll give you welfare. And then people come into your country, and they are getting money from the government while you're struggling to work and have a job. It's all terrible. And the cultural issues are a major issue, and it's the destruction of cultural stability. For sure, all that is true. That does not mean, therefore, problem, reaction, solution, now we need a police state. Because they created the problem in the first place. Stop offering everyone welfare. Stop, destroying other countries and being the policeman of the world, and maybe you won't have to end up with, this situation in your country. because they're doing this by design. They're importing these people by design. It was always part of this, and Israel has been heavily involved in this. A lot of foreign countries are heavily involved in conspiring with the U.S. government, and of course in Canada as well, and of course in Europe and all these other places to create this problem. So yes, not against or not in favor of mass migration at all by any means. However, what we're seeing here with ICE, what we're seeing here with these police, is they are creating an environment of security apparatus, warrantless arrests, stuff that we were always against, but now suddenly it's okay because it's different. I don't think so. Being consistent, if you're not consistent, then you have nowhere to draw the line, which means that you have no actual idea what you believe. I will strictly across the line say warrantless arrests of individuals, bad thing. Of course, I live in Mexico. And the people that are here in Mexico I talk to, and Mexicans obviously a lot of them are very much against what's happening in the U.S. with immigration. A lot of them are actually pro-Trump and stuff as well, let's be clear. But a lot of people, it's a very family-oriented conservative society. A lot of people will also say, you know what? Well, yeah, if someone is murdering someone or raping people or whatever, get them the hell out of the country. Of course, yeah, don't associate with them and communicate them and all that kind of stuff. Yes, of course. But rightly so, because, where I'm in Puerto Vallarta, countless Canadians come here, cause prices to go up. It is a big issue here. And they have an issue where they're like, we need to stop letting everyone in here because it's a problem, and they want more determination over their society. These things happen all around the world. This is something that is very common culturally. But again, when it comes to people in full military garb in the streets, shooting people, warrantlessly arresting people, beating up people for filming, stuff like that, since when did we become in favor of that? And how is that for the conservatives out there? How is that a conservative policy? For the libertarians out there, how is that a libertarian policy? And if you're not going to stay consistent on that, then you never believed it to begin with. You're only picking and choosing. So people that say things that you don't like, you think should be arrested then, which is just another example of the hypocrisy among both sides of the political paradigm. And it is a paradigm. Now we have Governor Tim Walz saying this.
Feeding families. I salute their courage and their restraint, and I call on all Americans to see the decency that this state is exhibiting and the horrific cruelty, unprofessional, absolute abomination that is passing for what these ICE agents are doing on our streets. They think they can provoke us into abandoning our values. Well, they're dead wrong. We'll keep the peace. We'll secure the justice with our neighbors, and we'll see this occupation ends. Minnesotans and Minnesota law enforcement that continuously is being denigrated by this administration will continue to be the adults in the room, the professionals in the room, the decent human beings in the room that will keep the peace.
So we have him saying this, as well as saying that the state will have the final say over this. Trump, he says, I call on you once again, remove the force from Minnesota. They are sowing chaos and violence. We have seen deadly violence from federal agents again and again and again. Now, again, Tim Walz is a complete moron. He's a big part of this corrupt establishment, the left-right paradigm, of course. I would say that, I wonder what the police are thinking behind him. The chaos is being sowed by both sides here, without a doubt. But creating, again, the police state is a huge step up towards that surveillance state that we've been fighting for all these years, which is big government, my friends. And I would have to agree that what we saw is terrible, but of course he's just going on this, he's riffing on this for political gain. So let's not praise Tim Walz here. Minnesota state investigators say they've been blocked by feds. Minnesota's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension says federal officials with DHS blocked them from accessing the scene and evidence in the federal shooting investigation. They were supposed to help investigate, but were cut out when the feds said the case would be handled federally instead. So the federal government is going to prosecute the federal government. The federal government is going to investigate the federal government's wrongdoing. We found no wrongdoing is what's probably going to happen here. We see this all the time, and it's so silly. Again, I know I'm going to get attacked and wrung out over this video here, but I'm just being consistent. I don't support giant governments sending militarized police into the streets after creating the problem that led to this in the first place, and then shooting protesters who, he's armed. Why do we have conservatives right now saying, oh, well, he was armed, he deserves it. So do you deserve it if you conceal carry? You deserve it if you conceal carry. And besides, he was disarmed. Luckily, there are some conservative groups that are speaking out against this, including people like the Quartering on X said, it looks to me like this was like the guy was disarmed. You got to stay principled. You have the right to bear arms. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Suddenly deciding where and where not to have gun control is insane. It means you're inconsistent and you don't have any principles. So I know the social construct says that we cannot support one side without supporting the other, or cannot deny one side without supporting the other. It's not about what about this side, what about that side. Both can be wrong, but one in the context of a certain situation could be more wrong. I mean, it's just, this is basic logic that a 3-year-old learns, but in politics, people forget this because they want confirmation bias for their own side. They want to be able to benefit what they think they believe because that is what their groupthink says. You have a right to bear arms. You shouldn't have militarized police in the streets. You shouldn't cause mass migration and give everyone welfare. You shouldn't be rounding people up in the streets at random, including farmers, as you destroy the supply chain. The end goal of all of this is create a crisis similar to what they would say is a civil war. But, of course, it's manufactured. It's not a real thing. Both sides will be controlled, my friends, and the overall agenda will be technocracy, digital IDs, social credit scores, social credit telling you what food rations you can have. Again, they've already done this with UN Pact for the Future, which 193 countries signed on to. They have things like this in Canada with the Emergency Planning Act, Sections 18 and 18.1. They have the National Defense Authorization Act and the warrantless arrests involved in that, the Patriot Act as well. They can call anyone a terrorist and just like round people up now. And that's been for a while. I think that was under Bush. That was made worse under Obama. And now it's being made worse again. Can we just be consistent? But nowadays, being against globalism somehow equals going to war with other countries and taking them over worldwide and committing coups and regime change everywhere. Nowadays, smaller government somehow includes police in the streets and cameras using facial recognition to get everyone on camera all the time, which is something that we saw Tony Blair put in the UK years ago. And people on the right were generally pretty angry about that. Now, well, silence. Radio silence. This is going to keep happening. I believe it's going to get a lot worse than this. I hate to say it. Oh, call me black-pilled. I'm just being realistic here. I'm looking at the writing on the wall. This is going to get a lot worse. And they are going to shoot more people, most likely. They want the chaos. And they will push this to the extent where there are... It's not just riots. Because obviously the riots we've seen before with the George Floyd riots were absolutely atrocious. People burning down stores and businesses and stealing shoes and stealing... breaking into banks, blowing up an A&W, like really stupid stuff like that. Of course, that is really, really dumb. Leave people's private property alone. But I have no doubt that this is going to snowball. And I feel like it feels a little bit different than past events. It feels a little bit different than the George Floyd situation. This feels like they're propping up a system which, for the first time in years, has been allowed to really go full throttle, to bring in a security state, a police state, and now there's going to be a battle between, Minnesota and the federal government? This is how civil wars start, and again, I'm not saying the civil war would be real. It's a manufactured situation. But nonetheless, it gives them the power to bring in insane policies and force people under those emergency mandates, which I've been warning about for years here. Which again means they tell you what you can or cannot eat. They seize your money. They debank people. They control people via the digital currency, digital IDs, of course, social credit scores. This is getting out of control, and I don't know where the conservatives are at on this because, as someone that doesn't believe in leftism by any means. I think leftism is a plague. I believe that conservatism is just a smaller version of the same problem. Personally, I'm a voluntarist, but I'm wondering where the conservatives are on this, because this is not pro-family, this is not pro-God, this is not pro-small government, this is not pro-individual liberty, bearing arms, free speech. All these things are just thrown to the wayside. Ask yourself why now, and where are the consistent conservatives? Anyway, as these crises continue, and I'm sure we're going to find a lot more out about this whole situation very shortly, I urge people to get prepared in their own way. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, get out of the banking system. It's one of the ways they'll be able to control you. firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. Use that exact link, not a shortened version. It's in the description of the video, and you can buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium, hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, or put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system. Gold and silver are through the roof, and if you zoom out on a long enough timeline, we're looking at something much bigger than what we're seeing now. Schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzalez and get a complimentary investors package there, and let him know that you found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, WAM, in the comments on the forum. Of course, stocking up on storable foods. Right now, 25% off over at heavensharvest.com using code WAM, W-A-M. So you aren't dependent on their food rations and controlled by food and money like they usually do, making people dependent on grocery stores. Making people dependent in general is what they do. They want to destroy humanity, and that is individual responsibility, self-responsibility, individual or individualism in general. They want people dependent on their system. So don't be. Go to heavensharvest.com, use code WAM, W-A-M, and you'll get 25% off on long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, books on how to get started. There's freeze-dried food, of course. Go over there now and stock up today. Check out my recent video on this. As people are actually panic buying right now, it's a sign of how unprepared most people are. Go and check that out. Of course, join us at Anarchapulco 2026, anarchapulco.com. Code WAM, W-A-M, will save you 10% on your tickets. February 15th to 20th, 2026 in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, where I live. I'll be speaking there. And, of course, a lot of amazing people are going to be speaking there, including Max Egan, David Icke, Jeff Burrick, Stu Peters, Gareth Icke, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Patrick Henningsen. We have Dan Dix, Vit Jedlicka, Curtis Stone, Cal Washington, Charlie Robinson, Chris Horlocker, the Christian Yordanov. The list goes on and on and on, my friends. I urge people to go and get your tickets today. Anarchapulco.com, code WAM, W-A-M. Anyway, I mentioned at the beginning of the video also, we're under attack by frequencies, bad frequencies across the board. I urge people to go and check out our link for WaveWatch 2.2, linked in the description. There you can get WaveWatch, which has 1,250 frequencies with 166 frequency sets. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and you'll save over $100 on this. No Wi-Fi required, no applications, no Bluetooth or EMFs. Again, helps you soothe your nerves, boost energy, enhance cellular function, and improve sleep. It's endorsed by people like Dr. Brian Artis and Dr. Motley. I urge people to go and check that out today. Very important going forward. Also, check out our link for Victory Nutrition International, vni.life/WAM, W-A-M, for super supplements today, including Protovite. If you use code WAM15, WAM15, you'll get 15% off, or you could just use our link and subscribe, and overall you'll get 20% off, and you'll be able to regularly get this stuff. Protovite has 100 plus vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients, and of course, when you check out the video here, the before and after is incredible. The circulatory issues before are obvious. Red blood cells are not flowing well, lost their negative charge, white blood cells are tiny, and look at what happens 5 minutes after taking Protovite. Red blood cells are freely flowing, the negative charge is restored, and white blood cells are 4 times their size. Highly recommend people check this out. This usually takes a month. It takes 5 minutes with Protovite, so go and check those links in the description and help support us if you can. Again, we have gogetfunding.com, Patreon, and Subscribestar. We need your help, my friends. We really badly need your help, and we're unpopular because we dare to speak out against all sides of the paradigm and be consistent. And this puts us in a bad place financially. So we have Patreon and Subscribestar as well. $4.99 a month or more will get you exclusive content as well as private messages with us and videos to your questions. We have a PayPal address, ancientwonderstelevision@gmail.com. It's in the description of the video. We have a Bitcoin address that you could scan here on the screen or check out in the description as well. And, of course, we have a Cointree link with a bunch of different cryptocurrencies that you can donate in, if you please, including privacy coins. Of course, we are... we do have a link in the description for Teespring, which has a bunch of merchandise, which buying that also helps support us. And you can find us on Telegram, Band.video, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and Brighteon at World Alternative Media. We're on Hive, Steemit, and Vigilante.tv at Josh Sigurdson. We're on the bad guys, TikTok and Instagram, World Alternative Media, Twitter and Getter at World Alt Media, and all the major podcast platforms except for Spotify, where, of course, we're banned. Hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already. And as always, my friends, live freely, live by example. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.